let's talk with Xeno in South Korea.
Xeno!
Yeah, Xeno's called in before and is back to talk about proof of the existence of God. Xeno, you're a deist, correct? Just to make sure we're on the same page.
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about it. What is your proof for the existence of God?
Okay. So I'm going to try to lay this out easily, but it's not easy. Okay, so...
I mean, it is a pretty heavy topic.
We have to lay out, we're thinking about this the wrong way. This is just my opinion.
Okay.
So we're trying to basically go where science can't take us. Okay, so the proof that I'm going with isn't going to be the type of proof that you probably would find substantial. So that's why I'm trying to, I'm like freestyling this. I have no notes. I'm trying to think of a way we could establish like different forms of proof.
Sure.
Like a metaphysical proof. Is that possible for you guys? Or probably not because you're atheists.
Well, I mean, atheists are not automatically philosophical naturalists. It is very possible that an atheist might be convinced by a metaphysical proof. I'm very curious what an example of a metaphysical proof might be that doesn't have to do with God, because we want to establish a category.
And so just before we do really clearly, this is going to get a little esoteric. We're going to do our best to kind of explain it to people, but at best, what we're going to do is come to decisions about a hypothetical God, because that's the limit of this kind of proof. So go ahead.
So give me something in the category of metaphysical proof that doesn't have to do with God.
Okay. So I think that question is a little incoherent. I don't mean to say that in a rude way. The reason I say that is because we're trying to demonstrate that events occur outside of our knowledge. And I feel like we have to do that not using the tools that we have, like math. I think we have to, a good thought experiment for this is, I wrote this down, the evidence for a God in the natural world is like saying, I need to learn more about spells in Harry Potter to find J.K. Rowling. So what I mean by that is, by using the math, like of the natural world, we're trying to prove this God, and your proof is based off of that math. What I'm saying is, I think we have to take a different approach. And it's like you're using a foreign type of math. Does that make any sense?
No, actually.
Not really.
For a couple of reasons. First off, if we're going to go with this conceit that we're in a book, for example, and I'm not using Harry Potter because I have issues with Joanne.
Well, I love that story. But
let's do Lord of the Rings, or Star Trek.
Well, I love that story too. But
cool. All right, so we are Frodo and Sam and whatever character you would want to be, and we're trying.
Wait! Before you say that, is it going to work for people who haven't seen the movie? Just for the audience?
Yeah. It's not.
Okay,
I'm not getting into deep nerd territory here.
Dig the consideration though.
Yeah,
nice.
That's good. So here's my first concern, which is, I don't think it is possible for Frodo Baggins to learn about J.R.R. Tolkien if he is a character in the book, right?
Neither.
Right. So
it's impossible.
Right. So if it's impossible, and what you're doing is making a comparison, then wouldn't you say it's also impossible for us to determine or get to know our quote-unquote author?
That's exactly what I was trying to say, but you said it for me.
Okay.
So the problem here to me is we're going about this the wrong way. So let's use the Lord of the Rings example. We're traveling the land thinking we can find the writer. It's just no, you can't travel the land to find the writer. So when you ask me to show evidence of the writer, I literally can't do it.
Right.
But that doesn't negate that the writer is there.
But for all intents and purposes, Frodo is never going to know about J.R.R. Tolkien. So why is this a question that we would expect Frodo to have an answer to?
Well, wait a second. Frodo's not the writer. Which one? Baggins is the writer, correct?
Frodo Baggins.
Frodo Baggins is a character. So
of course, yeah. So I haven't seen that movie that much, but I do love it. So one of them is the writer. What if they did have a concept of something outside of their world? But it's never shown in the movie.
Well, so may I jump in for just a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is rationality. right? So if you were to ask Frodo about J.R.R. Tolkien, does Frodo have any experiences, or is there any way to test it? Because it's an unfalsifiable, untestable hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. Because it's an unfalsifiable, untestable hypothesis, it is entirely rational for Frodo to look at you and be like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and that does not make any sense to me. That is rational, right? If you look up the definition of rational, is it internally consistent with the way that you understand the world? So Frodo would be rational in saying that, right? In the same way that we would be rational in saying that I don't accept that I'm a brain in a vat, or that I'm in the Matrix, or that, I just exist in somebody else's dream. All of those things are hypotheses that are equally untestable and unprovable. So in that way, all of those untestable, unprovable claims go in the same bucket of things that I really don't care much about until I have reason for otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I would call that a style. Like, that's a thinking style that you're applying, right? That's the way it works in your world, right? But not everyone is a rationalist.
How does it work in your world?
This isn't a scientific conversation. This is more of a philosophical one. Would you agree with that?
Yes and no, because they meet.
Okay.
Right?
They do.
Science is rooted in philosophy.
Further than what science could take us, correct?
No. I'll give you an example. Could you imagine a God that could snap their fingers and change gravity such that we could measure it?
I can't, but that would be like the argument of incredulity, right? Like, I can't imagine it, but I'm not saying it cannot exist.
No. If that was my entire argument, that would be a terrible one. But I'm leading here. I'm building on it. I promise.
I'll take the bait. Go
on. So if somebody believes that a God manifesting in the world could make changes in the world, we should be able to measure them. And
why do you think you would be able to measure them if you agree that the characters in a story could not meet the author or the writer or the creator?
That's a wonderful example. Yeah, no, that's perfect. God is the character in the story, and they are not able to interact with us, the people who wrote that story.
God's the creator of the story, so how can the characters get to know the writer?
To flip it around.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get down to the meat of this, because I don't want to lose. Okay. I feel like we're grabbing metaphors left and right, and we want to just the main problem that I have with this thrust of conversation, Xeno, is that fundamentally I have a problem with talking about things being true or false that are unfalsifiable by any means that we have access to. So right now, you are presenting me with a true or false belief system that is unfalsifiable by your definition based on how we falsify things in this world. So my question for you is, how are you going to convince me that this either is falsifiable and can be proven, or that I shouldn't be concerned that it isn't falsifiable? Because one of those two things is going to have to happen if we're going to get to a point where we agree.
Well, I think what satisfies your answer is the problem at hand. So a good example for this is if I'm trying to get someone to quit their 9-to-5 job and maybe live off of passive income. If they don't want to do that, depending on who the person is, we can't change their mind. So I don't think I called in to change your mind. I kind of called in to give you something that you want. It'd be great if I could change your mind. But the best way I feel like I would be able to do that is to first tell you that we can't use the scientific method, in my opinion, to prove what we're talking about. We have to go into this somewhat unknown space and start proving things from there. We understand there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of gray area, and we have to understand that these things are happening in a different place that we cannot see. So we don't have any evidence, and it sounds like a boring conversation.
No, it doesn't. It actually sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I want to take one. I want to take one more stab at what I was trying to say, because I feel like I didn't get there, and I really want to try this. No. I wasn't super clear, so I want to try this one more time.
Okay.
When you say we cannot use science, I personally feel like that is only said because we have not yet used science to prove it true. If we did and could use science to prove it true, You wouldn't be saying, well, we just can't use it. It's outside of the realm of science. And so in my mind, I take that and I push that back on my definition of God and go, wow, okay, is a God incapable of being detected by science? Which would make that an impotent God.
I agree with your point. Yeah, I do think at one point in time, we probably would develop the technology to perhaps maybe give you that type of evidence that would be so strong you couldn't deny it. And to kind of back in 1,000 years ago, there are certain things we didn't have. Now we do have it. And I'm a music creator. I create all types of things, software. So I understand the idea of something before you have it. And as an innovator, I have to look for those concepts before there's even any demonstration of them.
Well,
just understanding that there's so much we don't know, but that doesn't mean you stop looking there. It just means you have to have a conversation about the unknown.
But here's the thing. You're using some very interesting analogies here. You're saying, I'm a music creator. I need to trust that I'm going to find something to create before I have a concept of it. I agree. But we know that music exists. Right? We have seen other people create music, right? It's not an unfalsifiable thing that music exists. We can prove that. So what I'm asking for...
Could you always prove music, though? That's the question. If we can go like a time machine backwards, could we prove it always?
Prove music? Yes. As long as people have been singing or banging rocks together, we can prove music.
But there was a point in time when that wasn't happening.
Before music existed? That's an interesting title.
No. Music could exist before you learning about the concept. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, trees fall in the forest, and we don't hear them all the time. We understand that trees fall in the forest.
And it still happens. So my point here is saying that, we can demonstrate music right now, but there's a time and place where we can't demonstrate something.
Okay, well, how would I, as a person who had never heard about music before, be introduced to the concept of music?
That's tough. That's why I'm starting the conversation by saying, all right, you would be rational not to believe in it, sure. But if we're really looking for truth here, you have to go outside of that rationality to understand there's things outside of what you see,
No, not at all. Because
so you'd be wrong to not believe music then.
No, what I would do if I met somebody who was like, I don't understand what music is, I have no concept of this thing, what I would do is I would turn on the radio and show them a song and say that is music.
Let's assume we don't have the radio.
Why? Why? No.
Because
why were we assuming that?
We're in a time period where we don't have these concepts.
All right, so I'd sing a song. I would sing something.
Yeah.
This is not analogous.
No, if there's an interventionist God, right? No, if like take for example, people who think that God can perform miracles, right?
Okay, I don't believe that, by the way, but yeah.
But in this example, right? If we were talking to somebody who believes that God answers prayers and performs miracles, we can test that, right?
How could we test that?
Oh, medical records.
You said how could we test that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
No, we could test that.
I don't think we could test if God... Well, yes, actually, you're right. Yeah, I don't believe God can create miracles, so yes, we can test that.
And if a God could create miracles, then we could test it. We don't need to go outside of rationality, right? We can stay there.
So let me ask you this question. Could we test whether a DAO would work? A DAO is an acronym for a decentralized autonomous organization. Could we test that 150 years ago?
Oh my gosh, are you a crypto person?
Yes, I made millions off of it. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
And if you guys want to, I can tell you. But no, that's what I'm the numbers guy.
All right.
I was in the stocks before that. But the thing is that, never mind that. I'm saying, let's not use a DAO. Let's use something else that you do not have a concept for. Okay. Are you telling me there is a world that exists where you don't have a concept for something and you can't prove it, right? Like we haven't always had the iPhone. We haven't always had.
Sure.
I don't want to say blockchain. Just anything outside of what you have in your normal world.
Right,
Do you feel like you always had evidence for the concept?
No, but you're confusing two things here. You're doing these are two different categories of thing. One of these things are things that have not been invented yet, right?
Right.
The
That's what we're talking
blockchain,
about.
right? The blockchain did not exist prior to the technology that allowed
So
it
how
to
would I
exist.
prove to you that we would have it? How would I do that?
That you
'Cause
knew
we do have it.
in the past that we would have it?
Yeah, as an innovator and creator, how could I prove to the normie, and I'm not calling you a normie, but just someone who didn't study all that stuff, how would you prove that to someone who didn't study the field?
Show
Do
them.
it.
Yeah.
Make it.
Blocks and DAOs and whatnot.
Yeah. The time for a person to believe you is when you can demonstrate it and show it. So,
Correct.
No, I don't. That's your style, though. You can't put that style into everyone.
No,
right?
Okay. Here's an example. Xeno, pretend I'm an architect, okay? And I'm going to tell you that
Sure.
that I'm going to build a skyscraper. What does it look like?
Okay. Well, you need to give me a reference.
Oh,
That's what we're going off of.
No. I'm asking you what it looks like. So I give you V as a reference. V tells you Eric knows how to build buildings. Eric's an architect.
Okay.
Okay. What does it look like?
We have to start from a reference. We can't go on yet. We have to start from a reference first, like a blueprint.
Oh, a blueprint. Okay, perfect.
Yes, you need a blueprint first,
Okay.
but we have to conceptualize it from nothing, from our minds.
So hold on a second. The blueprint is required, right? So I show you the blueprint.
It's not required, but yeah, it helps.
I show you the blueprint. Do you believe that I built the building already?
No, that's a concept. Not yet.
Okay, so
It's a concept that you came up with.
So I demonstrated the concept for you. It was rational for you to accept that when I showed you the evidence, and then I asked you,
it
it
depends. Am
exist?
I a naysayer? Like maybe I would say, well, maybe that could never work. So it depends, and that's why I say it depends on the person and
Sure.
how they understand the ontology around them. But let's keep it going.
So each step along the way, it's not rational to believe something without any kind of concept about it. That's
what they say. That'd be an ad populum fallacy, right? Like just because they're telling you what rationality is,
No,
doesn't mean
no, that's not what that
how we should
means.
operate.
No, rationality is entirely
so
internal.
The ad populum fallacy is against the rules?
No, hold on. Rationality is internal, right? So your rationality depends on your epistemic toolbox. If you have these tools and that's the answer that you get to, and it's entirely consistent,
but
that is rational.
Conceptualize of a blockchain, right?
Well, you can. So it would be irrational.
Different species.
So it would be irrational for them
species.
to.
We're different from the ant, so we can conceptualize.
Oh, okay. I missed ant. I was thinking. I was like, well, you're taking normies to a new level, man.
Yeah,
I'm
damn.
not that far gone. At least, please bring me back if I am. But
well, I know that that Skepgen has not set up anything to accept crypto, but we're happy to keep you level if you want to support the show.
Okay, so here's the problem. Here's the deal.
I'll keep that in mind with my Ethereum. But go on.
Don't hold our breath.
I'm sorry. Go on. Let's make this about God again.
Because we could go in many directions here.
Yeah.
So my concern here is that we seem to have changed focus from a thing that exists now that we cannot prove, and we've moved into a space where we're talking about things that may potentially exist in the future that we can't prove now because we are not in the future. And that second one, I agree with. I think that there are things that we as a species cannot comprehend because it hasn't happened yet and we haven't made some kind of philosophical or technical or social breakthrough, right? That's fine. I agree with you. But that's talking about something temporal. That's talking about something that is a result of how we experience time. It's not talking about a thing that exists now, like God, or existed in the past, that we cannot, with any measure that we have, confirm exists or not right now. Do you understand why?
No, my response to that is yes, I agree. And science does do a good job at explaining the functionality of objects, components, and variables, but we still need to work out what they are. So science does kind of give an explanation of what these things, like the functionalities and the utility behind it, but we still can't go into this area of like what they are. And that's kind of why I started the conversation with, I think this is a very difficult conversation because we can't just say, hey, well, demonstrate to me this evidence of something that we don't have. So then we should just shut down the conversation because there's certain things that we didn't have evidence for, but us innovators and creators, we built all of this. We had to come up and conceptualize the blueprint, quote unquote.
So you had an idea.
This out into reality before we had it.
Okay.
Before it was even here, we had to work that out.
Hold on. I feel like we might have been talking past each other. Is this a Platonic idealism situation here? Are you talking about?
Can you summarize?
Yeah. So I've been under the impression, and this might be where we're missing each other, that things don't exist until we create them. Like the blockchain did not exist somewhere out there until people had access to the concept and brought it into this world. I think that it didn't exist at all until somebody was like, hey, what if we did X, Y, and Z? And then they did X, Y, and Z, and it became something that existed. Are you suggesting that things that we do not have access to yet still exist right now in some like other
Yes, because facts are prior to proof. That means even if you don't know about it, it's happening right now. I call that the negative zone, by the way. So that would an example of that is something happening even though you can't witness it. Like it's the party going on even though you're not there.
So
yes, the party is going on even though you're not there.
Have you looked into Platonism?
No, but I'm going to after this.
You should.
You absolutely should.
But is that that's what we're describing here?
Yeah, it's kind of it's based on
good call, V.
Plato, the philosopher, saying, "Hey, we have this mug, right? This is not the mug. This is based on a concept of a mug, a perfect mug that exists out there in an ideal space. And we access that concept to make this mug that looks similar, but is not the same." So I feel like you're probably very close to that, but I'd be curious
I'm a creator.
to hear what you think.
Create all types of things. So I just want to ask you and Eric a quick question.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever created anything? Are you artists of any sort?
Never. I've never created a single thing. Certainly.
It's so difficult, I think. What about you, Eric? Have you ever created anything?
You're on the show that we created, man.
It's an artist explaining it to the admirer of the picture.
V's being facetious. We are both.
Okay.
We're both creators. No, that's okay.
Sound condescending, but yeah.
No. So here's the thing.
You can't draw. Go ahead.
But ultimately, I would love to have you look into Platonism because I feel like at this point, our kind of experience working in that area that wouldn't match the kind of experience that you do. And so it would just be us smacking you with concepts that you still need to read, and that would just be rude and condescending of us.
No, I mean I've grinded enough, Eric. That's not. I hope that's not what you mean.
No.
Enough to come and talk to you and feel equipped to have this conversation.
Okay, then do we have enough time? How long has it been? Can we talk? Can this is a defense of Platonism?
No, but here's the thing, Xeno. I think we will get a better conversation if you first go look at Platonism a little bit more and make sure that that's what we're talking about. Because if it's not what you're talking about, then we are going to be missing each other again.
All right, what's that one definition you guys brought up in the show where it means you're taking time because you can't agree on a definition? What was that word?
Oh.
Pettifogging.
Yes, pettifogging.
Okay.
I kind of feel like that situation's happening right now.
Well, here's the deal.
Like when we both agree, I know what you're talking about. It's really not a hard concept to understand, right? Like if you're not there to hear the tree, do you believe that the tree actually fell because you weren't there to witness it? I understand that.
No, but that's not what we're talking about, though, which is the problem. So, here's the problem. You're correct in a way that we're working with different styles of how we look at the world, and I think we've identified a very core one, right? We've identified one here. Unfortunately, we do have to move on to other callers, but that's not going to be a situation where we don't want to talk to you again.
No, it's just because it's been a long call.
Yeah, I want to call back next Sunday to understand, can I get one little answer and then I can hang up? Just one tiny answer to something?
We'll give it a shot.
Maybe.
Okay,
I don't know.
All right, quickly, if you're not in the forest to hear the tree fall, did it fall? I'm asking you, V.
Yes.
Okay, Eric, do you agree?
I mean, trees fall all the time. So I
mean, okay, so what if you didn't have knowledge of the trees? Do you feel like, because you missed the facts, they're not happening?
No.
So you do understand these facts are happening, whether or not you know about it.
The thing is, yes, we agree that we are all coming at everything, learning new things all the time, and being apprised of concepts we previously didn't have access to. The problem is it breaks down after that, because it seems like you're advocating for just accepting that things happen, and the only examples you're giving are things that we could verify scientifically and through our senses did or did not happen. If I'm not aware of trees falling, right, exactly which is the problem. Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're running in circles. We agree that we don't know everything. We can't know everything. There are concepts we have no clue about that other people might have, deep knowledge of. The problem
so I feel like this is the meat and the potatoes of the argument. So next time when I call, I know you said you don't want to talk about it, but can we please have another conversation about it? Because I think this is where the answer actually lies.
Xeno, we are more dialed in than we were before. I'd absolutely love it. Okay. That sounds great.
I love talking to you.
And
Xeno, like y'all two are awesome.
The fact that you called in early enough makes me very happy. I want to.
It's late here in South Korea. I'm not supposed to be awake right now.
Well, get some sleep. Thank you for calling.
I'm thinking all night, like, how can I prove that Eric and Venus exist?
Oh my gosh. All right, well.
So, no, I'm joking. It's not that serious. But
take care.
All right, you guys have a good one.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
I feel like it's a weird, I feel like Xeno stumbled upon presuppositionalism by accident and doesn't know the script for it, but is still kind of repeating a lot of the stuff because he's kind of reinvented it.
We find ourselves reinventing these concepts all the time, which is amazing, and it definitely goes
Well, he got to Platonic idealism without knowing what Platonic idealism is. There's a reason these things keep coming back, and it's because the way our brains are wired, heuristically, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's really fun. I love that he thought I didn't know what a Tao was. All right. Let's talk with Relic in Texas.
Oh, really quickly before we do. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Skeptic Generation is brought to you by you. If you like what we do and you want to support us, consider going to patreon.com/skepticgeneration. That's patreon.com/skepticgeneration. We've had a number of people who had to do other things. They've reached out and said, hey, I wish I could help, but I've got other stuff going on in my life. So we would love it if you can spare a buck a month or a buck an episode. It really does help.